Primordial Radio.
How much of an influence have the events of the last couple of years been on Planet Zero?
You have to understand that Planet Zero as a record, it was a record that was written for the people, by the people. And, you know, I think that the dynamic of this record is it is fueled by pure emotion and by awareness of what the last 2.5 years has been like for every single person on this planet. Because the last album that we put out, Attention, was a conceptual piece, but it was more inner, because that was also a record about the human spirit, but it was more about the four of us and what we had seen in the band, myself and Eric and Zach and Barry, where that was over time. Planet Zero is about the last 2 years. This album was being written in real time with everything that was going on. And, you know, a major dynamic of the album too, lyrically, is that tell the truth. No matter what it is, as a society, if we do it together, if we allow the other person to speak, even if you disagree with them. Because what I also noticed too, when we were writing this album, that people were talking about the internet being undefeated. It's not true. Mother Nature is undefeated. I think she's proven that time and time again. If she wanted to, she'll wipe us out like that. She's done it before. So that's another side of this record too. From an environmental standpoint, there's a statement being made there as well. Like, it's our responsibility to not only take care of this planet that we're on, not only for our children, but generations, you know, after us, but also it's our responsibility as people to take care of one another. But along the way, we have to deal with certain people's agenda. But if you look at what's going on right now in the Ukraine and Russia, even Russian soldiers are laying their weapons down and going, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I still believe in people, man. I believe in humanity.
Even after the last couple of years, seeing all the division, seeing the fighting, because I'm not going to lie, like the last couple of, I try and be like a glass half full, positive guy.
Right.
See the best in people, give people the benefit of the doubt, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
The misanthropy in me has exponentially increased over the last couple of years.
Right.
People you're just like, is it so hard to think about other people? But then you do see people who are sacrificing everything. But then there's people who aren't even going to have the slightest inconvenience for the good of anybody else. Like, you know, there's people who will refuse to wear a mask because it infringes my rights. Like, it's not about you, dude.
Yeah, and I can understand the frustration that people have, you know, with that. But when you would go out, if you weren't staying inside and you were going out into the real world, in the real world, people weren't trying to destroy each other. In the real world, people were trying to help each other. People were being kind. I mean, the abundance of thoughtfulness that I experienced during those 2 years, as you know, you were walking out and you were still in an environment where I chose in the middle of a pandemic to go out because I needed to. But in the real world, outside of the box, if you will, of the screen, people were really, really taking care of one another, and they were being very humane.
Do you know the very first thing I heard on Planet Zero?
What's that?
Well, it should come as no surprise to you if I just move that. You can see the guitar that's on the wall behind me.
I can, very vividly.
Should come as no surprise that the very first track on the album, 2184, I just thought of Van Halen's 1984.
So Eric Bash, who's the bass player in SHINEDOWN, who is way more than a bass player, Eric produced, engineered, and mixed the last album, Attention, and Planet Zero, he produced, engineered, and mixed this record as well.
Talented guy.
He's a massive Eddie Van Halen fan. And I think in a very unique way that he did it maybe a bit more subconscious than he thought when we were putting it together. But it's definitely an homage.
Yes, because I could hear. In fact, there was one. So when you get the new SHINEDOWN album, Planet Zero, it's amazingly for a modern album. It is 20 tracks, 7 of which are kind of interludes with How would you describe Siren?
A artificial life form.
Okay, an artificial life form telling us what to do, giving us information, that kind of thing.
Right.
But there is one of them
sounding really, really sweet and kind in the beginning.
Yes. There's one of these
slowly deteriorating,
where it almost sounds like the same synth noise from 1984. I'm sure I recognize that one. So I'm glad that I was hearing that.
Yeah.
But then I can also hear that same kind of synthy vibe. I can hear that same synth noise in the background of some of the songs. Right. I don't think I've ever noticed that on Shinedown before, like synths in the background. Is that a new thing, or has that always been there and I've just missed it?
Well, I mean, the records that we've done probably from the Sound of Madness album on, when we started working with Rob Cavallo on the Sound of Madness, who Rob also produced the album Amaryllis, which was the record after the Sound of Madness. He was the first guy that started to kind of show us how you could build these beds under certain tracks to give it this a different foundation than just specifically the drums, bass, guitar, and the vocal. So we kind of started learning from him how to do that. And then as we moved forward with records like Threat to Survival, which had way more of a synth approach on a lot of the songs, and then moving into Attention, having Eric produce that and the band is doing the record in-house. I think Eric is so enamored by sound and he's not trying to necessarily reinvent the wheel, but what he's doing is that as a producer, he's looking for things that make the hair on the back of his neck stand up at all times. So he has a very vast knowledge of a lot of instrumentation. He also knows how to record analog and digitally. So yeah, I mean, there's stuff in there from probably more so started using it more between Attention and this record, but we've never really been a band where we could be put into a box. Our audience has always allowed us to evolve. They've given us a platform to be ourselves, and we want them to do the same. So they've always allowed us to, we would like to think, not make the same record over and over again and not write the same song twice. But you also want it to sound fresh, but you also want to give, once again, kind of homage to those records in the past that inspire us. And you can have a synth and a heavy guitar live in the same world.
This album feels heavier to me. It feels it feels riffier. I know you guys are no strangers to riffs, but starting off with the album, you've got 2184, which that is 1984. I'm certain of it. Then you start the album off with an absolute pair of bangers in No Sleep Tonight and Planet Zero. What?
Yeah. Right.
And as you get on through the album, I'm looking at the Saints and Violence and Innuendo.
Right.
What? I'm sure there's more riffs on this. Was that intentional, or is this me just not paying attention?
No, I think you're paying really close attention, which is super rad, and we're very honored that you would, listen to it that, closely. I can tell you this, that Eric labored over the riff for Planet Zero, the song Planet Zero. He also didn't sleep for 18 months because we at the beginning of the pandemic, I remember when I got to South Carolina in June with him, I was calling studios to see, can we come in? Is there a time frame? Are you guys okay with people coming in? Is there any, can you give us any information? And most studios were like, are you kidding me? No, no one can come in. So we built a studio in 18 weeks. We had no choice. So we just built it from the ground up on his property. But like when we went in, also the guitar for this record, when I say that Zach and Eric labored over the guitars, I mean, the two of them, they didn't really sleep. They were really working off of one another a lot too. And Eric played a lot of guitar on this record. Zach played a lot of guitar on this record. Eric played bass, obviously on the record. Zach played bass on the record. So they would trade off and do different things. But yeah, the core of how do we bring the guitar to life on this record, it being the next Shinedown record, but also putting it in a category all of its own. So we had to go in and say to ourselves, what have we not shown the public that we can do? And that's a lot of, we were pushing ourselves as musicians and obviously songwriters, but sonically we were pushing ourselves and going, that's not good enough. Do it again. That's not good enough. Let's stop on this song. Let's move to another one for a minute and make sure we're giving every single individual song our undivided attention.
Primordial Radio.